Hello, this is Professor Marcus. I'm going to give you a tutorial on using the IV compatibility checker in Micromedex. So at the end of this unit, you should be able to screen for compatibility for a list of drugs and also display compatibility for a single drug. From the Micromedex homepage, to view the IV compatibility of multiple drugs, you are going to click on the IV compatibility toolbar option right up here. And now as I type in a brand or generic name in the enter search term box, the list of drugs will start to narrow down, and I can move a drug from the matching drug names list into the drugs to check the list by either double clicking on the drug name or selecting the drug and then pressing the enter key, or by selecting the drug and then clicking the right facing arrow button. So for example, if we want to do heparin, we can start to put it in here. You see that it's already starting to autofill for me, and I can just double click on that. You can see it's entered it here for me. So heparin sodium is now in the drugs list to check, and I can add some additional drugs. Let's try another common drug in hospital practice, gentamicin. So I can see here by just putting a part of it, I have some options. Another common drug is vancomycin, and you can see that it's giving me the trade name of it here or the generic name. I'm going to go ahead and choose the generic name. So now you can see I have 3 drugs here. So if these were all of the 3 drugs that I wanted to check on, I can then hit the View Compatibility button here. And what we can see is the returning results. Here are my 3 drugs again. And across these tabs here shows me all the different ways I can consider compatibility based on what I am interested in looking at. By default, it always puts the Y-site tab because that is the most common compatibility checking that you will be doing. But you can obviously click on the other ones if those are more pertinent to your question. So again, the initial Y-site compatibility page presents the results in pairs of 2 of our 3 different drugs, covering all of the drug combinations that we were interested in. And by default, all drugs that you request are going to show here. If you don't want to see that much meta information, you can filter your results over here by limiting and off-checking some of these things. So let's say like I want to remove items that are deemed as compatible and also items that maybe haven't been tested from the results. So there is a tab right here, compatibility, that you see, and from here I can go ahead and like uncheck compatible. So if I'm not interested to see what is compatible, I'm only looking for the outliers that aren't, I can do that. Also I could remove the not tested, for example, and then just click update. And now you can see it removed that one entry that had to do with my products that was already deemed to be compatible. And the key for the different codes that it will appear here is also up here, and you can just hover over these and it tells you what each of the different codes means, as we can see here. If I would like to learn more information about the drug combination beyond just this high-level screening information, I can go ahead and click on that detail, and it will open up, as you can see here, more detailed information for me, which includes things like at what concentration the drug was, both for the gentamicin and the heparin, and more of the details about the compatibility status. Remember, this one said that it was variable. We can kind of see that, that this top entry shows that they're compatible if these conditions are met, but incompatible if these conditions are met. And it always presents the information in the same format where it'll list drug 1 and 2 and show the concentration and any particular manufacturer if that's available. This column 3 will be the compatibility key. Column 4 will be information, which shows physical compatibility, chemical stability, and storage information. And then finally, the test parameters. This is the reference to how this compatibility was determined. So it's the link to the short title, basically, of the experiment by which they determined whether something was compatible or incompatible. So that was looking at Y-site compatibility. Let's go ahead and close out of here. And now let's look at the admixture tab. So here we can see multiple drug admixture compatibilities is shown with, again, an icon here. And notice that one or more of these have been rated with the caution variable. This means, again, as we saw, that there's maybe some reports of where it's compatible and some reports of where it's not. Again, I can click on the specific link to see more details. So let's choose a different one. Let's do Gent and heparin. So again, as we can see here, this one is showing as compatible in a certain situation in peritoneal dialysis, while this one is showing incompatible. Here's another one showing as compatible at these concentrations. So you can see that there's some variance here, and it would be very specific to what specific use and also what concentrations were used. So recall that admixture is meaning that we're putting that gentamicin and heparin into the same bag, right? And the Y-site that we looked at prior has to do with them not being mixed in the same bag, but essentially the two bags feeding into a similar line, a Y-sided line, where those drugs would come in contact. One of the final things that you can look up in Micromedex is putting the two medications, so not in a bag together, which would be drug-drug admixture, but together in a syringe. And if there's information available, that will be shown here. We can see that for this one in particular, there isn't any information available for Gent and Vanco. And same as before, you can click on the pairing to get more details about that specific pairing. For this one, again, it's telling us that this is heparin sodium in sterile water for injection, and it didn't specify what the concentration was, combined with vancomycin. And over here, it tells us a little bit more about how long and what it was combined in, for example. So up until now, we've been looking at combinations of drug, but you also can look at compatibility of a single drug, and this can be helpful, for example, if you're thinking about mixing it in a different solution, or you want to know some information about its stability. So let's say I was done with this search of this, and now I'm moving on to a new topic. You can go into this Modify Selections, and there's a few different ways that you can do this. You can just click Clear All here to get rid of it, and now you can start essentially a new search. So let's search for haloperidol. You can see I've got a couple options here. We'll choose the one that is the brand name, just for fun. If you're searching for just a single medication, you can go ahead and just hit View Compatibility again here. And now you can see it's showing me just information for Haldol. When you do these single drug searches, you can see that it defaults to the drug solution because there's obviously just one item, so these other tabs don't make quite as much sense. And it starts off by showing us the common solution results, so meaning things that we often dilute different medications into. So we can see here again it's using a key to show us what types of things. Dextrose 5% in water, or D5W, is one of the most common fluids that we give to patient and a common diluent. So what's nice about this single drug feature is it drops you into the drug solution, which would probably be your most common question, but you can also kind of quickly screen to see the whole laundry list essentially of medications with that medication. So instead of having to enter each of them separately, if you are trying to consider maybe an alternative medication, this is a quick way that you can see kind of all of the options. Likewise, if you are going to be combining or have questions about combining a medication with total parenteral nutrition, so this is parenteral feeding, you can click on that tab as well. So here, TPN is a special type of formulation because as you can see here, it contains many different ingredients in it. It has some amino acids, some sugar, it has water, and it has a variety of different electrolytes. So it's kind of a more complex mixture than we would be able to search just doing the Y-site or admixture. But you can see that in this view, we can quickly see over here in the far right column whether a Haldol would be a compatible Y-site with this formulation of TPN. So in Micromedex, remember that if any time you want to, during your search, modify your search, move on to a new topic, you're just going to use that Modify Selections tab. And you can either come back here and edit in additional things, or you can always just clear all if that's you want to start something brand new. I also wanted to point out that within Micromedex, you can get to some of the compatibility information for a single drug. So if you're not doing the combinations of drugs, you can get to that from the general monograph. So let me just show you where that is as well. So vancomycin, and then you're going to look here under the medication safety section, and there's one called IV compatibility. And here we'll see that it basically brings us up similar information where we can kind of scan, or we can kind of jump off right here and it brings us right directly into the checker. So please feel free to reach out with any questions about running these compatibility checks. It's definitely something that you will see in your health systems-based IPPE.